What is going on, everyone? It's Jacqueline here from Nothing But Tech. I hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a camera comparison between the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus and the iPhone XS. Highly requested video. I'm excited to make it. I also shot another camera comparison video on the same exact day of this one. So if you want to check out that video, it's a camera comparison video of the Note 10 Plus with the OnePlus 7 Pro and the Note 9. I'm going to link that in the description if it's up, and if not, it's coming very soon. But let's dive right into this video, and looking towards my left to give you like a live analysis of photos are right here. The first test that I did was a dynamic range test, and this one's really interesting because if you put phones in good scenarios, you can get a pretty good photo most of the time. But when you put them in bad scenarios with harsh lighting and exposure all over the place, that's when you really see if the camera is capable on a good phone. And I think that this test showed that both are pretty good. So the Note 10 Plus goes for a much more contrasty look a lot of the time, especially when it's faced with really harsh exposure of like highlight and shadows. It thinks, what should I do here? Let me crush the blacks. And that's what it normally does. So you're gonna notice that in the lawn area, the iPhone XS, you could definitely see a lot more detail of the grass, and that shadow is not as harsh, whereas in the Note 10 Plus, it's really hard to make it any detail in the grass. And the shrubs on the right side, not really sure if they're called shrubs, but I'm almost like 90% positive. But you can kind of see that both the Note 10 Plus and the iPhone XS crush the blacks there. However, the iPhone XS, you can see a little bit more detail in them. In terms of sharpness, the Note 10 Plus also really sharpened the building on the right side to a lot more of an extreme than the iPhone XS. When you compare the two photos, I think like you're drawn maybe to the Note 10 Plus just because it's like a more contrasty image and our eyes see that and we're immediately drawn to it. The iPhone XS looks a little bit more washed out, but when you really look at them, I think that you can see like the small differences, and then it's really just personal preference of which one you prefer. I'm gonna move on to the next shot, which is a portrait mode test. And I'm shocked how much better portrait mode has gotten over time. Like, it's really excellent now. I remember when it was in a beta 1 and it was just not amazing. Now it's kind of fire. It's really good. So you can see the edge detection on the Note 10 Plus and the iPhone XS is pretty good. Also, I want to make a note here that on past Samsung phones, I really have not liked the skin tone. I feel like it goes to a much too yellow kind of thing. But this year, it seems kind of improved. The other thing I want to mention, and I think it's something that you're probably going to notice right away, is that the Note 10 Plus really does a lot of skin softening. It's better than in past years, but it's still here. You can just see more detail on my face on the iPhone XS than on the Note 10 Plus. It's not whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but if you're looking for a shot that you could really play with and like edit in Lightroom, the Note 10 Plus is not going to give you a ton of detail to work with. Overall, both pictures are pretty good though. The edge detection is great. Same thing on the iPhone XS. It struggled a little bit with my hair on the left side, whereas the Note 10 Plus had that same issue of hair blowing back, and it did a little bit of a better job. Both are pretty good though. I'm honestly shocked how good this particular image came out. And then I tried actually a selfie test. And I'm not a huge fan of taking selfies, but I know a lot of you are, so I always try to throw one in here. What I would say is that they both look okay. The iPhone XS flips the image, whereas the Note 10 Plus does not. So the Note 10 Plus is a bit wider, so you can get a little bit more detail in. Yeah, there's something about the skin tones on the iPhone XS just for selfies that I kind of prefer. Again, there's a little bit of skin smoothing going on in the Note 10 Plus, but nothing terrible. A tree test will kind of show the giant, drastic color difference. This one tree in particular, and all of the camera comparisons, always creates like this huge divide between the two phones of what looks better. And on the Note 10 Plus, it goes to a much more green hue, whereas on the iPhone XS, it kind of goes to a much more purple magenta hue. Neither of these phones kind of knocked it out of the park. The green is too green, the magenta is a little bit too magenta. Obviously, you can kind of fix that in post, but you kind of just want a good image out of camera. They're fine in terms of like detail, exposure, and stuff like that, but the Note 10 Plus is a little bit too green for my taste. However, in the background where the iPhone XS kind of blew out the highlights on that sidewalk, the Note 10 Plus did not. It retained the detail, which is pretty impressive. And I find that a lot that the dynamic range on the Note 10 Plus is really improved this year in a big way, and it actually makes a huge difference in a lot of photos. Another photo where I think that the Note 10 Plus and the iPhone XS actually did pretty well was in this picture of a reflection off the window. They look pretty similar, and I think that the color science of the Note 10 has shifted this year and when you compare it to previous Notes, and it kind of has a little bit of a similar color tone to the iPhone XS, just with a little bit more contrast. I know that the iPhone XS, at least in my opinion, has some of my favorite colors on a smartphone. And I'm glad to see that the Note 10 is kind of mirroring that a little bit. Contrast on here on the Note 10 Plus, again, makes it an image that you would look at right away. The iPhone XS looks a little bit washed out, but if you want to really play and post and edit, iPhone XS would be the better image there. Okay, I'm going to switch over to a portrait mode test of an object that's not a person. Obviously, portrait mode and live focus mode are intended for people, but I know a lot of us take it when it's not. So they both did a really good job of edge detection, of getting the helmet and everything. I was wearing a helmet before this video, as seen by the hair, which is not doing me any favors. The Note 10 Plus did blow out the car a lot in the background, whereas the iPhone XS did not. It really retained that detail in a big way. That's just something interesting to notice, but otherwise, they both actually did a really good job with this image of keeping the sharpness and everything. The black looks a little bit more black on the Note 10 Plus when compared to the iPhone XS. An indoor shot of some gift cards reveals what some more low light stuff looks like. Note 10 Plus has a low light mode, whereas iPhone XS does not. I took both of these not in a low light mode. If you want to see like more night shots and low light stuff in a separate video, let me know by leaving a like and a comment. But both did pretty well in store lighting environments, which is like green overhead and not a lot of visibility. Sharpness is really here. I honestly cannot really tell the difference between both of these images, so that's kind of a good thing. They look pretty similar to me. I then took some video on both the Note 10 Plus and the iPhone XS, and what I'll say is that the Note 10 Plus has excellent stabilization. So in a video of running with both of the phones, the Note 10 Plus really has great, like, rock solid stabilization. The iPhone XS is not bad by any means, but I just feel like the Note 10 Plus really nails it. In terms of other features, the Note 10 Plus just added in live focus for video, and the iPhone XS does not have that, obviously. And what I will say here, and what I said in a previous video as well, is that the Note 10 Plus, the live focus video, it's not good. But that's kind of where you have to start when you're with a beta 1 generation. Portrait mode in the beginning was terrible too, and edge detection was awful. And now we're at a place a couple years down the line where it's pretty good. So I'm excited that Samsung is trying to innovate in this, and when we can get a mode that actually works really well and doesn't have terrible edge detection and a really fake feel, it's going to be a big step in smartphone photography. So this is Samsung's first step, and I bet a couple years down the line, it will be a whole different story. The next photo that I took was in portrait mode on the street, and they both did a pretty good job here. I definitely prefer my skin tone on the iPhone XS. It looks a little bit like healthier and more tan, whereas the Note 10 Plus has a little bit more of like a purplish hue to it. Otherwise, the photos are pretty similar, and edge detection actually did a pretty good job here. That's it though for this camera comparison video. The wide angle lens on the Note 10 Plus definitely has a big advantage over the iPhone XS not having it, and the sharpness is really there. What I have noticed is that the dynamic range sometimes on the wide angle lens is actually better than the primary, which is kind of interesting, especially in the shot of the leaves when I kind of zoomed out. The Note 10 Plus obviously is going to have a better camera in some ways just because it's a lot newer. We're expecting a new iPhone in about a month. But right now, the Note 10 Plus is one of my favorite cameras on any smartphone, and definitely one of my favorite wide-angle cameras on any smartphone. It's one of the phones that really does it well of not losing a major amount of quality when you go wide. That's it for this video though. If you enjoyed it, you should be sure to subscribe. It would not only be appreciated, but I'm going to have a lot of other content coming. Check out another video right here. I'm also really excited to announce that I'm going to be speaking at Power of Video in Northern Ireland in like 2 weeks. It's an awesome conference with an industry day, a creator day, and a bunch of masterclasses. So it's a great way to connect with creators and also learn a lot of new stuff. So if you're in Northern Ireland, you should definitely come. I'm going to leave a link below where you can buy your tickets. But I am super, super, super excited to be speaking there. I hope to see some of you at the conference if you decide to come. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.